Hi, everybody. My name's Eric, and I'm making this video to share with you a bunch of gear tips for camping stuff you might need at Oshkosh. I'm making this video because it took me a couple of years to figure all this stuff out, and I couldn't find all these tips in one place anywhere. Find things on forum posts and things from other people, but couldn't find it in one place. Even some of the big aviation YouTubers would share videos about what they bring to Oshkosh, but they wouldn't share all this stuff. They'd share simple things like bring a sleeping bag and bring a tent. And I was like, well, duh, I think we all know that. So all the stuff on my list are things that will make it, more comfortable, safer, easier to pack the plane, that sort of thing. Now, with that in mind, a couple of things I want to tell you. Number one, I'm a comfort guy. I'm not a hardcore camper. So if I could afford to stay in the Hilton, I would. If I could figure out how to take my whole living room in a plane, I would. But I've just got my Club's 182 RG you see here behind me, right? So you can't take that much. You'd be surprised how much you can take, though. I've got another video I demonstrate how to take the back seat out, also because it was a procedure I couldn't find anywhere readily available. And there's a couple of details in there that'll be helpful if you want to do something like that. This is a 1979 plane. I think all the 1979 up through 86 planes are the same, and a lot of the 182s are the same or similar, okay? Or the 172s, because it's the 182. So anyway, something else I want to tell you about my list is I'm not sponsored or monetized in any way, so I don't get anything if you buy stuff. I don't care. I want you to be comfortable. I want to share my knowledge with you, but I won't take it personally if you don't like what I have on my list. I'm also, because of that, I'm not making a downloadable list. If you find something you like, well, I think you know how to go find it for yourself. Most of the things I got were either from Amazon, from REI, maybe Cabela's or Moose Jaw, one of the outdoor supply places like that. All right, so without any further ado, here's my list.
My first couple of recommendations are all about comfort and convenience. Number one are fans. I found these USB rechargeable fans. They have a 10,000 milliamp hour battery, which is plenty to run for more than 24 hours in a low setting. And that low setting is just enough air movement to keep things comfortable during the night. It gets hot and humid, and just having a little air moving in the tent makes it bearable for me. Number two on my list are bikes. They're expensive and they take up a lot of space, but they're a godsend for getting around, especially when you want to get off the grounds. A run to Target or someplace off-site for dinner is a no-brainer with bikes. I got these Montague full-size bikes, but if I had to do it again, I think I'd get something smaller. I was hoping it would replace my daily rider at home, but the comfort and frame geometry aren't that great. They're okay. I'm not regretting the purchase at all, but if I had to do it again, I think I would go for something smaller, lighter, maybe an electric scooter. The third item on my list is a bigger tent. I bought a North Face Wawona and it's been great, but REI and others make good ones too. It really helps to have a tent that's tall enough for you to stand up in. If you can, get one with what they call a garage or a vestibule. So these are extra spaces outside your tent sleeping area, and it gives you space to put on shoes outside of the rain, store some of your items that you don't want necessarily taking up space inside the tent, but you want protected from the elements. Number four are folding stools. I got a pair of folding stools that aren't expensive and they don't take up much space, but they're really convenient so you have a place to sit in your tent's vestibule while putting on your shoes, so you're not sitting on the damp ground when you're rummaging through your cooler or your bag or whatever. Number five are replacement guy lines or tension lines. So the nylon paracord that comes with most gear stretches when it gets wet, and that makes it harder for your tent to withstand strong winds during storms. I found out about this stuff called SpectraCord on a camping forum, and it doesn't stretch much when it's wet, and it doesn't absorb the water either. If you can, get a cord that's a bright color so it's easy to see. Sometimes they make reflective versions so you can see it at night with a little bit of light. Number six is an item called tent Brightz. These are just little LED lights that clip onto the tension lines for your tent and your gear, and they make it easy to see in the dark so people don't trip on the lines or stub their feet on a stake. A 4-pack is only $10, and people who saw them on my site last year thought they were really the greatest thing. Number 7 is extra tent stakes, particularly heavy-duty ones. You can get a 10-pack of heavy-duty stakes for about $15, and These are great to use for aircraft tie downs, and I tie down all the guy lines for the tent because they're going to take most of the wind load. The little aluminum hooks that come with tents aren't really strong enough to hold if the ground is soft or if the wind picks up. Number 8 is packable pillows. They're designed for backpacking, so they're small and they're light, and they can save a ton of space in the plane. I found a memory foam pillow that's almost as thick and comfortable as my pillow at home, but it packs into a bag the size of my sneaker. Number 9 are microfiber towels. They're a huge space saver and they dry out quickly, so after you use them, there's not enough time for bacteria to grow and make your towel smell funky. Number 10 is extra shade, and there is just not enough shade at Airventure. Even with a high-wing Cessna, I found having more shade was invaluable. I do it with a big tarp and some collapsible fiberglass poles, but there's other options you can find, so just see what looks good to you. Number 11 are solar-powered lanterns. I found these inflatable solar-powered lanterns, and they work great for the kids as night lights or just to keep them from killing the flashlight batteries around the camp. Number 12 on my list is a portable power station, and this should have gone much higher on the list because it's something I've become pretty dependent on. I found that for 2 people, 300 watts is enough to keep my fans, phones, tablets, and everything else charged for a few days. And there's several good brands out there, so just pick one that's been well reviewed from an independent source that actually tested it, not someone who just looked at specs like the review aggregate sites tend to do. Also make sure you get a fireproof case with them since there is a risk of fire if the lithium polymer batteries break and get exposed to oxygen. That's what happened with the 787 battery fires. Bear in mind that these power stations do take a long time to recharge though. I usually plug mine in at the charging station in the morning and then grab it after the air show. Number 13 on my list is the Leatherman Skeletool. This is one of just a couple of product-specific recommendations I'm going to make on this list. And it's just because it has everything I need, and it's still small enough and light enough to be an everyday carry knife for me. So it just has a screwdriver, a knife, and pliers on it. And I've used it several times for random things around the airplane or around camp, tightening a loose screw, closing up a cowl fastener, tightening a loose nut, cutting new tension lines. The knife metal isn't great, but if I sharpen it for the trip, it'll hold an edge well enough until I get home. And after getting stuck in a champ when the door handle fell off, I don't fly without it anymore. Number 14 are compression sacks. They're like regular ditty bags, but they have straps to compress things down and pack into a much smaller space. I use them for sleeping bags, clothes, and other soft things that can tend to get bulky. And just for an example, my sleeping bag now packs down into about half of its normal space with one of these bags. Number 15 are cutting boards. These are for under the wheels of the plane because after 4 or 5 days, particularly if it's wet, the tires will sink into the mud a little bit and it'll be really hard to push the plane out. So I just got this set of cheap cutting boards and they go under the wheels when I park the plane and I just wipe them off when we pack up. Pretty easy.
All right, everybody, those are my tips for you. If you've got more to add, make sure to leave them in the comments. And look for this tail number 756 Victor Hotel. If you see me in the North 40, stop by and say hi. We'd love to meet you guys. All right, see you at Oshkosh.